you might have 50 people in a restaurant, but not all of them can tend bar. Not all of them might be old enough to tend bar. So I'm like, let's look at this from a rational basis of what it means to be a business owner and have business needs, but then also that sort of human side of the employment side. And I probably couldn't have put myself through college if I had had kids in tow, because the years I was paying daycare for 3 kids in diapers, it was $18,000 a year. It was not cheap. 1 infant, 2 toddlers, all in diapers, not affordable. And so when you talk about people who are minimum wage type jobs, or who are particularly in the service sector, they're usually in those jobs hopefully to try to better themselves. It's that stepping stone into higher education, because the hours can be flexible. But we also know that there were some folks out there who weren't necessarily doing the right thing. And so I said, okay, I'll come to the table and we'll have this conversation. And I probably have logged at least 100 hours into this bill in the last 3 years, just trying to find ways to create a balance. And I didn't testify in the Senate. And I also said, I'll come on as a chief sponsor. And I have businesses in my community who bit my head off. But I said, I'll come on as a chief sponsor at the beginning of the bill, and we'll keep working until we get this bill right. And I really do believe this is as close to right as we can possibly get, that is fair and balanced for workers, fair and balanced for employers. And I've been on both sides of that in the hospitality industry, both in management and in the workforce side. It's an industry I care about. It's where I got my minor in hospitality management. So this is an industry that's personally helped me get to where I am in life. And so I care deeply about it. And to me, it was one of those opportunities where I think we can show how when we sit down and come together, we can actually solve problems, and they don't have to be partisan fights. And so I appreciate the people who have since come on and wanted to support the bill after we've gotten it this far and didn't understand maybe all of the bill's story along the way. And like I said, out in the snow, hours sitting in kind of a cold office room when everybody else was shut down having a snow day, we were working before the session to try to get something we could start as a starting place. And I feel really confident about where we are. I think it's fair. I think it's equitable. And, there's an argument sometimes on the Republican side that, negotiating some of these things at the legislative level isn't, our job. And I will tell you, if you look really deep in the Republican Party history, we've always been on the side of workers. Now, we might not agree with some of our Democratic colleagues on what that means, but if you go back and look at some of those values, they really were about making sure that people had a fair and equitable workplace, and I believe this bill gets us there. So I'm going to let other people talk about all the mechanics of it, because frankly, I'm really sick of reading the bill. After 100+ hours, I'm ready to just pass it. So I'll let other people really work through the mechanics with it, but I think it's in a place where we've got to the right language.
Excellent, thank you. Yeah, Representative
I
Leininger.
just want to note, I referenced Jeff Anderson, but I want to make sure I specifically call out UFCW Local 555. They have worked so hard to move this forward and have done heroic work, and there's been a big team, and I sure appreciate the fact it's been a big, broad team, but I wanted to make sure I didn't leave this witness table without noting what an amazing set of work UFCW Local 555 has done.
Thank you. Question.